Welcome everyone. This will be my Pengiun episode 3 video. Much like a penguin will dodge leopard seals left and right, Oz kept on matching past death in last week's episode of the Penguin, and now in episode 3 titled Bliss. The stage has been set for an unholy alliance between him and the hangman herself, Sophia Falcone. In case you need a refresher from last week's episode, Oz dropped in his teenage Victor to assist him in framing Johnny Vitti, the underboss of the Falcone crime family, for the murder of Alberto Falcone. However, those plans went wayward after Sophia hired Detective Marcus Weiss to track down a mole within the family. Instead, Oz was forced to improvise, and Sophia's own personal bodyguard, Castillo, ended up taking the fall for the murder. The episode begins with a flashback set on the fateful election night during the third act of The Batman. Victor agrees to meet up his crush, Graciela, promising he will join her on the rooftop after he drops off some things at his family's apartment. While there, Victor tries to convince his father to take more opportunities at his job to get paid more. But to no avail, and later on Victor meets up with his friends including Graciela on the rooftop of a taller building down the street. Right as Victor and Graciela share a tender moment, Riddler's bomb detonates across Gotham, causing a massive flood that destroys Victor's family apartment, presumably killing everyone still inside. Flashing back to the root of Victor's grief is one hell of a way to start the episode, perfectly setting the stage for the character's biggest storyline yet. Until this point, Victor has been one of the sole forces of a good in the Penguin. It didn't make much sense why Victor would stick around near to do well like Oscorp. It was safe to assume that his family was out of the picture at this point, but we never got a full sense of his upbringing before the flood. Victor's family life seemed relatively normal, with loving and supporting parents. However, much like Robert Pattinson's Cape Crusader, tragedy leads these characters to go to some unexpected and inescapable places. Back in the present, at Oz's apartment, Oz separates Victor on his temporary alliance with Sophia, expecting Luca Falcone to take care of her the moment he discovers that she is playing them. Oz has since moved on from Victor's failing to plant the jewels in Vitti's car, promising him that it's just ancient history, and he will continue to look out for him. Sophia shows up at the apartment right as Oz takes a call from a Salvatore Maroni, where he informs them that Vitti has placed the entire Falcone family into lockdown. A nervous Victor welcomes Sophia into the apartment, and she begins to question him about his partnership with Oz. Sophia tells Victor that Oz used to be her driver, something that he wasn't aware of beforehand. Oz walks into the living room area where she humiliates Oz by telling him to drive, just like old times, forcing Victor to stay behind. Sophia and Oz arrive at one of the Falcone family's shipment plants, and Oz is notably confused when he sees that the product has been shipped over from Arkham. Oz confronts Sophia, claiming that he thought this was all El's plan, and Sophia responds with a vaguely sinister answer, "I know you did." Upon entering the lab, Oz is even more baffled by the drugs being produced, including mushrooms. He is told that mushrooms are only serving as a means to collect their spores, which are being used to create a whole new kind of a stimulant. Sophia orders Oz to find a distributor that will allow the new drug named Bliss to spread throughout the streets of Gotham. Back at Oz's apartment, Victor calls Graciela for his first time since election night, inviting her over. Upon her arrival, we learn that she is unaware of Victor becoming immersed in the criminal underworld, only believing that he is become a driver for a club owner. Graciela tells Victor that she is leaving Gotham to move to California and asks him to come with her, but he declines, stating that he is not sure if Oz will let him. He then tells Graciela the truth about Oz and admits that he fears for his safety if he tries to leave. After Graciela pleads with Victor to come with her, he gives her some of the cash that Oz recently paid him with, asking her to buy him a bus ticket and promising he will leave Gotham with her. The tension has only escalated this week, as not only is the newfound trust between Oz and Sophia threatening to crumble as quickly as it began, but ever anxious Victor has also now become Odin's eyes and ears. We want to see him escape the situation with Graciela, but his alliance with Oz has given him the most purpose he's ever felt since the death of his family. The next day at the Falcon estate, Sophia crosses paths with Vitty, who hands her a plane ticket to Italy and threatens her by admitting that he solely views her as a mentally unstable, spoiled brat. Later, she meets up with Oz in Chinatown, who proposes an alliance with the Triad Crime Syndicate by bribing their deputy Link Desai. Upon entering the Triad Club, Sophia Guns is immediately confiscated by Oz talks linked to getting his men to lower their own weapons before giving an introduction to Bliss. While Victor waits outside with the vials of a Bliss in the front seat of Oz's car, a cop pulls up and orders him to get out of the vehicle. But some cute thinking on Victor's part, as well as offering a bribe with the remaining cash he still has in his pocket, convinces that police offers to walk away back inside the club. Oz and Sophia tell Link about their plot to take over the Falcon crime family, and when questioned further, lie and say that Wit is backing them upon it. Link isn't buying it and tells them that Frank Zhao, the head of the Triad, will need to receive a phone call for confirmation from Witties as a proof. Later that day, Oz and Victor dine at an upscale restaurant where the latter tries to find the way, tell the former about his plan to leave the Gotham with Grisilla. Victor tells Oz about his father's career as a mechanic and how he never fulfilled his dreams of becoming chef. After their conversation, Oz eyes Witty's mistress, aka Lucas Falcon's wife, Tina, dying at a nearby table, and approaches her, asking her for a favor. Shortly after, Oz and Sophia walk into Witty's hotel room in order to catch him in the act with the Lucas wife. The two blackmail Witty into calling Zao, but not before Witty is ridiculous, the two causing Oz to retaliate by shoving his phone deep in his mouth and demanding he make the call. At the Triads Club, Oz, Sophia, and Eve instruct Eve's employees as well as Victor to distribute the Bliss. Once they depart, Sophia pulls Oz aside, signaling that she will take the lead, since Zhao is meeting with them because of her, not him. While Zhao respects Sophia's operations, he believes that the risk is too high because of the Triad's tense history with the Falcons. Sophia continues to try to win him over by talking about their shared hatred of her late father, but Zhao brings up Sophia's time in Arkham, where she tells him that Bliss was given to her and other inmates. Zhao still doesn't trust Sophia, so in response, she reveals that she did her research on Zhao's father, who was a psychologist, in an attempt to make him reconsider. She ends her offer by saying that if doesn't agree, she and Oz will simply present this opportunity to another crime family. Every single interaction between Oz and Sophia in this club room sequence has been nothing short of a pure bliss, pun intended. The two actors work perfectly in sync with one another. Not only are they fully committed to their characters, but they find ways to match each other's sinister and sketchy energy in magnetic ways. For much of the series so far, Oz and Sophia have felt far more confident when they work together, rather than acting on their own. Despite their alliance feeling like it is on the verge of erupting, their characters spring to a life even more when the actors bounce off one another, saying that it is hard to ignorance the repetitive nature of a Sophia and Oz will they want their relationship, while their ever-changing stances may be intentional. It feels inevitable that the series will end up with a showdown between the two. While on the dance floor distributing Bliss, Victor receives a several text message from Grisilla, who expects him to meet up with her at the bus station. It's at the moment, however, that he is hit with a panic attack thanks to the loud noises and bright lights in the club, causing him to flash back to the day the roulette bombs went off. He rushes to the bathroom trying to calm himself down. As he receives another text from Grisilla informing him that the bus is leaving soon. Just as he is about to respond, Oz barges and informing them that the Triads have agreed to the deal, but then notices Victor's phone along with the text from Grisilla, and Kurt Oz berates Victor, causing the younger man to break down and admit that he doesn't believe he belongs in this operation. Oz retaliates by questioning whether Victor thinks he is too good for the life of crime and accuses him for feeling like he is being held hostage. even going as far as to take out his gun and press it to Victor's head. The two continue to argue, with Oz telling Victor that without his current gig, he and his family will never be remembered by the world. Ultimately, Oz allows Victor to leave, and even though Victor drives to the bus station in Oz's car, he watches in tears as Graciela boards the bus without him. Outside the club, Oz informs Sophia that a deal has been made with the Triad, but she remains apathetic. It is then that we learn a bit more about the history between these two, as Sophia believes that Oz is merely just using her to become a capo. Stating that he will never even be made a man, Oz opens up, tearfully admit that he doesn't regret writing her out to Caramel, as it gave him more power within the family. But he does sympathize with what happened to her, not knowing then that Carmen had been planning to send Sophia to Arkham. As the two share a cigarette, Sophia tells Oz that she no longer knows how she can ever trust him, but Oz promises he will keep showing her otherwise. Right as the tension between the two begins to smooth out, Nadia Maroni and her man arrive to hold them at a gunpoint, and she reveals that she knows that Oz was playing them and was never playing to pay them back. And it's at the moment that Victor returns to the club, sees the encounter and drives his car into the scene, saving Oz and Sophia and creating distraction. The episode ends as Oz jumps into the passenger seat but orders Victor to drive off, leaving Sophia behind. The first two episodes of the Pengiun allowed us to dive deep into psychic of Oz, but this week shifts the focus towards Victor, fleshing out the characters even more, allowing the audience to have a deeper understanding of him. While Victor brings out of a softer side of Oz brings out of a darker side of the Victor. And watching the evolution of these two is the biggest highlight of the episode. There might be a lot going in within the overall plot of the Penguin, but in episode 3, the numerous backstories are all starting to thread together in unexpected ways. If you find any reference during the episode that I didn't talk about in this video, please write them down in the comments. Thank you.